internal reporting by the CIC, it was noted that Kammler was wanted, sent to Ebensee to account for the happenings and accounting in Ebensee. And despite the 14 accounts of his death, he appeared here a few days after the war ended, and did so according to this CIC document. And I am sure Alan Dulles in Bern wanted to see him after that and have a chat about all those bulging SS bank accounts he controlled in Switzerland. Seems all rivers seem to have flown to Ebensee, and then they all vanished from here. And now it's time to return to Ebensee and see what else Kammler was doing there. Something much more important than synthetic fuel might very well have been produced here. Why else the importance and the urgency of bringing Kammler back just to talk about what happened here after he had completed his disappearing act? Let's go back underground and take a look at the B system. It is a smaller system. Part of it is today occupied by the Memorial Museum dedicated to it and to the prisoners who died here. And another part is housing a shooting range. But it is one of the best, most intact places from where we can actually get an idea of how the factories would have looked and operated. This is where the rocket scientists from Peenemünde was expected to move into. The tunnels were in 2 levels, with a floor dividing them, with offices upstairs. But to my knowledge, none of the many multi-layered systems have survived with the upper floor still intact. This is the only photo we have of the factory before the machinery was eventually moved after the war. Production was then of course set for the lower floor. Both prisoners and civilian workers would work here together. Prisoners were constantly also enlarging the system behind the operational tunnels, closed off by a temporary wall to shield the excavation dust from the fine machinery. In here, Steyr, Daimler and Puch was producing tanks and ball bearings and engines. Although once again, we have 2 different maps of the place with descriptions of what was here during and one after, and again, they differ slightly. It does seem that according to the original map, there was a factory working with wood production here, as well as storage and other production. There was of course also drainage, bathroom and offices. And in the side tunnels were generators and support machinery, which was placed here to support the production in the main tunnels.
The generators were on the foundations. There was a factory not far from here in town, and the company was Beton Mobilier and also Hofmann Wakula. And they had some forms, and they put in the iron inside the forms, and then the liquid cement was put in, and then after a few days it was hard enough to bring it up. And they built it up with in German we say Flaschenzug. You name it in English, but they built it up.
So they brought it in, so they didn't actually pour cement in here. They brought on all pre-made sections and put them, which is probably quicker.
There was another reason. They wanted to have a first floor, of course.
Of course.
For the offices.
Yes.
And the geologists, they told them, if you make that big tunnels, that galleries, the mountain is moving for a while. Yeah? It could be maybe 10 centimeter or 20, for a while is moving. So it was a diploma engineer, Dr. Ladislaus Rabčević. They told them you have to have a distance between the stone and the precasted lines and walls, so the mountain can move, and they will not tear down the walls. So they could do it. This is like a hall normally outside would stand.
Yeah.
It has no connection to the and outside it is painted with some kind of a bitumen. It's I don't know you name it in English, but so the water normally is coming out from the mountain, is pouring outside down, and there are some drainage systems to bring all the water outside. And the tunnel is also, I think, 1 degree falling, or 2 degrees, so the water can go outside.
And the brick wall they put up, because they were still excavated in here while machinery was working in there, so the dust and construction crap didn't get into the machinery. Sometimes I'm saying things I know you know, but I'm actually saying them to the camera. I'm saying them to the people who doesn't know. You can still see the signs of the mini rails here. But it is really interesting to see behind the tunnel. Because it's one of the few places you can go and you can see how they did it. I've never been down here, have I? I was a little rushed because Bernard seemed to be a little cold and there was a little hurry, and I think I seem to remember catching him on a day he didn't expect it. Yeah, they had the two rail lines here. How long did the Americans operate this after the war? Until the 50s?
Yes. For example, the production site where they produced all the fuel, they used it until 1949, I think.
Yeah.
And this site in general, they used it until the 50s. Because just after the end of the war, they were keeping all the people right here until they were sent back to their home countries.
Yeah, because the Americans didn't really have an idea of how big this was, did they?
No, not really.
And it was the German guards that went and got them and opened and guided them here, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Still in construction. So what? So the cement was where the fuel plant was, and the fuel plant eventually went. They sold it to the French, I think, didn't they?
Yes, something like that.
What were they doing here then?
Here they were producing mainly car parts during the war, and after the war they just used it as a production site. But
Yes, one of the old drills. They got stuck.
yes, and the beer cast.
And
It's Austria.
You'd be surprised. That's pretty much a theme at every Unterverlagerung anywhere in the world. There seems to be full of beer and stuff. I will say she does history of things World War II, and she has found bones in every tunnel we've been in since we started, and ton. So, I'm just saying, we find the cranium or something. Well, she will. So after the war, what did the Americans do here?
Right in here, not that much afterwards.
Did
They
it-
used lots of machines they had in here, but they kind of gave it up afterwards.
Was that Daimler or Puch, or who was here?
Sorry?
Was it Daimler or Puch? Those trucks and motors were built here, right?
Yes, Daimler was here.
Daimler was here. Have you ever seen if there was an inventory? I mean, the Americans obviously made an inventory of everything they found in all these tunnels.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen it?
No, actually.
It's funny because I am on my 4th year of FOIA requests to get it from the CIA, from the OSS, from whoever.
Yeah.
Because all the tunnel systems they found, including Bergkristall of course, they inventoried everything.
Yeah.
And no one, even Dora Mittelbau, no one has ever seen those which is, I'm just looking at the train tracks that are curving. Usually I thought there would be a turning plate, but here the tracks actually curve. Yeah, nobody has seen that manifest. And I mean, that document, it shouldn't be hard.
Because we have lots of lists from the Nazis themselves and so on.
Right? Do you have any of those?
Yes, we have some in the museum.
Well, do you think I can bribe you to make copies of them to me? Or send them? Are they digital or do they? What? Of course you did. There you go.
It is bone.
That is a bone, yes.
Yeah. So just if you...
Well, I can't tell what this was from. Was there anything else around it?
No, I didn't.
It's not. It's brittle. It's an old bone.
Yeah, but for sure.
Well, here's an artifact. It belongs to you. It's your tunnel. Here's the first part of the 25 people we will now find in here. You can bring it back to the office. Are you sure you should be a nurse, not a mortician? Because you seem to find an awful lot of dead people. I'm just saying. Yeah, I would love to see, especially, I'm very curious about what Solvay was actually doing and why he had 2 or 3 tunnels here. Yeah, two railroad tracks all the way. The Allies throughout Germany, also some of the Alsace teams, made mention in some of their documents of how much thorium they kept finding everywhere. Also in some of the SS special project sites found lots of thorium. And since if you look at popular history, no one cared about thorium until the 50s. But let's face it, the Americans, British, Russians to some degree, divided up everything the Germans were doing and brought it back home. And then some years later, they started officially working on it. I'm thinking whatever they were doing, they got the ideas from here. See, this is cool. This is really showing of how they built the little buildings in the back. And then had the generator, the generator would have been here. You've been in Zement, right?
Yes.
Did you see the octagon foundations? There's huge octagon foundations.
Yeah, I did.
What? You any idea what they were for?
No,
Not sure which the button is, but it's like, it's chipped and the water already ran into it, so it's like very...
Is it wood?
No, it's... I don't know.
I mean, though you could. What did we? This is always one of my favorite pictures from here.
Because it's too soft for plastic. I don't know.
What did they ever make bakelite buttons?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, those whole huge octagon-shaped foundations, they're just, why would you make a foundation? Why would you make an octagon tank? When you have all these round tanks, it doesn't make sense. Here you can see the outside of the tunnel in the tunnel. I always loved this because it's one of the few places in the world you can see this. You have people in your tunnel. We can scare the living piss out of them, you know. You even see the drain back here. How that ran all the way behind. I guess they're getting a free show. Want to hang out and talk?
The reason they constructed the tunnel as a freestanding tunnel inside the rock with separation was so that the mountain water could run off the actual hall and into the overflow tunnels and out and away. And rock does move ever so slightly, and nature could do its thing without damaging the actual factory hall itself. This is very clever. And of course the drainage in the factory floor is sloping outwards with 1 degree again.
How's life on the inside?
It's very like, it's going further.
Oh, yeah, it should run the whole length of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And no bones though, right? No bones?
No.
Okay. I'm just checking with you. So is that a hook?
But there was
Oh, these were outside. They were lifted on hooks at some point.
Yes.
Moved, yeah.
Because all of these rings were kind of just pushed inside
Yeah.
into the tunnel.
And this is the black is the waterproofing. That is, well, to some degree still intact. Would be nice. And then here's a wooden thing in a hole. Why is there a hole? Not a hole. Why do people always fill holes up with things? And this will then run to the next exit, where since they were constructing, they were just wheeling dirt outside. I remember the prisoners said they would rather work inside than outside.
Yeah.
They would say it's similar temperature, and outside you might have stone things that fell on them and break things.
Especially in winter with all the snow outside.
Yeah. I heard a very interesting prisoner account from the Project Riese sites. Where there was two, I think they were Czech brothers. They were in the camp, and they were working on the usual digging out stones and moving stones with. And his brother got his leg crushed in one of the in one of the stone carts that tipped over. But they took him to the hospital. They amputated his leg, treated him for 3 months. I know. I always remember that story because we sort of have the impression that, oh, you can't work, bullet to the head. No, they treated him with one leg, healed him up, and as the Russians then were coming, they moved him on to somewhere else. And somewhere down the line, he caught dysentery or something, and he died from that. But the Germans still spent 3 months treating his leg. I always said, people, they always ask me about these tunnels, and I said, well, it depends who's the commander. You could be lucky and have a good commander, you could be really unlucky and have a bad one.
But it's interesting since it's such a long time.
Yeah, it is.
In Ebensee, we also had a Stromungslager where they got all the people who were ill until they were ready to work again.
Yeah.
But normally they just kept them here for a few days, about 2 months.
And if they didn't get, they could also, the prisoners here came from Groß-Rosen, right?
Yes.
So if they couldn't work, they would exchange them
Yeah.
for somebody who could, basically.
In the beginning, at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
End of the war.
That's what a collapse looks like, by the way, just in case anybody cares. Oh. This is also what a collapse looks like, by the way. People always make fun of me for not wearing a helmet. I'm like, you know what? If a couple of tons of rocks fall on my head, helmets, okay great, I'm still going to be dead. I have not been here. Oh, ooh, that's why. I did not know this was connected. How awesome. So this ends here, it doesn't connect to the turn. No, it didn't, because we were in there. There's lots of drills stuck in the... Every time I see that, I always ask myself, so was that somebody, it just got stuck and they got another one, or was that the last day at work?
Yeah.
So that the Americans are here, like, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you always like, right? It would be interesting. I mean, you have a lot of human accounts from here.
Yeah.
Does any of the prisoners still come back for the reunion? Are there any left?
Yeah, some of that. This year we didn't have any because the majority passed away.
Yeah, they would.
Back in the days there were quite often here.
Yeah. There's a lot of Italians here towards the end.
It was really, I think there was about 4 Italians.
And the Italians weren't treated really well.
No, they were treated among the work.
Somebody once asked me, when is it okay to make fun of the war? And I thought, well, I think Monty Python crossed that bridge a few years ago. So I think we're fine now. Except, of course, if you're in Germany and Austria, then...
But still there is also.
I mean, come on, it's like... I always like, I make movies, actual films, and I'm on TV shows and stuff. I always wanted to do a Nazi comedy. Because I can make a lot of fun of this whole Gestapo thing with the long leather boots. There's so much work. There's so much material here. Well, I say we go this way. Every day her parents will call Will Riker and ask if he's still alive. So what do you think? You haven't been back here before.
Sorry?
You haven't been back here before. What do you think?
It's really good. Because I just always sit in the entrance right here. And I always wanted to go back there. It's such a crazy floor. With so much things happening here.
Yeah.
And just right here. Everything our region of
And it was interesting that when Kammler disappeared, all the American intelligence, they wanted to talk to Kammler about Ebensee and about Swiss bank accounts. And I would have thought the first thing you would want to talk to him about would be about the Bergfest, because that opens up to a whole lot of questions. But he handed that over intact. So I'm talking, and I spend time with both Fiebing and Kammler's families. And trying to figure out what happened to him. Of course, because everybody wanted to know. And I just got another letter from the CIA. Thank you for your FOIA request as of last year. We're still processing. We promise we will get back to you by July 23rd, 2025. This date may be subject to change. That's the same. I get the same letter last year. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, if you can't find the, if you take, I mean, okay, I guess it's not a big priority for them to find old files.
Yeah,
But we have a FOIA request thing, and that's something you don't have in Germany or Austria.
yeah.
It was very interesting with the guy in charge of the Austrian archive for the section for World War II and World War II construction. I wrote him. I said, well, what do you have on Beckerstal and all these places? He said, I don't have anything. I'm only in charge of what Austria built during the war, and we had nothing to do with it. I'm like, my God, man. I'm like, okay. And then in 1996, the Americans repatriated all their files to Austria from the war. All the stuff they took during the war, they gave it back to the Austrian archives. So I asked him, so what did you get back from the Americans? I don't know what you're talking about. I never heard of it. I have nothing. Like, okay. So I put in a FOIA request in the National Archives and asked if they have a copy of what they sent the Austrian archives in '96. This is just insane, though. It's like, you feel you're getting a runaround because, oh, we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? We're still going to talk about it. You're just going to look like an idiot. And
It's great, but still not like so difficult.
And it shouldn't be, but I always said, I mean, whatever happened, happened. And the people who did it are dead. And the people it was done to are dead for the most part too. So, at this point in time, let's move on and try to figure out what happened. And let's tell the full story of the good and the bad and the ugly. So, we can learn something from it, because clearly the way the world is going right now, we haven't learned anything. We are paddling down, kind of what looks like 1914. And did you ever take any interest in World War I?
Yes,
World War I is fascinating.
yeah,
Actually, this is good, John. World War I and the beginning of World War I is very, very interesting, because as it turns out, it really kind of wasn't Germany's fault. Because Germany took the whole blame for World War I. But the complete mess up of what's it called, diplomacy that led to World War I, everybody has a part to blame. The French were up arming for a war. They wanted to go to war with Germany. The French told the Russians, go to war start war with Germany and we will join you. They had that was a very open agreement. Then you had, of course, Germany said, well, we will back Austria. But when it started coming to a point where, but you had, Konrad in Austria that wanted the war, the chief of staff.
yeah, come on, I don't know.
He wanted to go to war. And he pushed for war with Serbia, God knows how many times. And when it finally got to the point where Austria was sending ultimatums they knew Serbia would reject, the Germans, and it's interesting, the German chancellor, that was the foreign minister in Germany, he had a meeting with the British ambassador. And because Germany didn't want to go to war with England, they told England what their war plans were. He told them, we're going to Holland and Belgium and this and this and this, and we, please don't intervene, and we don't want to go to war. The British ambassador afterwards, he called back to London and said that the German diplomats are childlike. They're telling us everything, all their plans. These are crazy. And when it finally became clear to the Germans that the Austrians were pushing for this, he sent a telegram. Who was that? That's the German Prime Minister? I can't remember who. He sent the telegram, oh, this is shooting range, to the Austrians and said, find a diplomatic way. We're not doing this. We're not backing. He basically withdrew the blank check. And he sent by telegram, and the telegram arrived 10 hours after Austria started shelling Belgrade. It was such a clusterfuck. It's like, do you have telephones? This is a good time. And that's why, like, World War I should never have happened. And I said the same thing about Ukraine today. It should never have happened. Like I said, this thing comes down, you know, helmet's really not going to help. Well, let's go to the shooting range. I guess this is here?
Yes. Next one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can inside.
No, you can. This should be closed off. And since I just heard a gunshot, it damn well better be. It annoys me greatly to be shot at before lunch.
Yes. It inconvenient.
It really is. It bothers you so. It makes your coffee no longer work. But yeah, and that's why. I thought I heard a gunshot. Didn't I hear a crack? But yeah. So if you guys actually get here, which you won't because you don't have the key, you don't go through here because you'll be on a shooting range.
Yes.
Did Himmler have a house out here? He had a house in Ebensee, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah.
Is that still for sale?
No, I don't think so.
No, it was for sale for a long time, but they didn't want to sell it to anybody.
Yeah.
And if they didn't want to sell it to any Austrians, they'd rather sell it to foreigners because they're afraid an Austrian might turn it into something else.
They're currently having the same problem with Goebbels' house in Germany.
I know. I was there, and I wanted to see it because it's for sale. And I talked to some people who do hotel gear stuff because the whole school behind it could be a nice hotel. It's in fairly good shape. The German police are using it for quarters. So well, you take this over and then turn Goebbels' house into a restaurant again. It was a restaurant until 10 years ago. Like, oh, we don't know. It's like, and then I got the same thing. So I wrote the mayor of town. So can I see the house and document it while it's still here before somebody does something stupid? So, I don't have the access. Write BIG. Okay. So I wrote BIG, said, oh, we don't have anything to do with the house, don't have access to it, we don't own it, talk to the mayor. Okay, then I wrote a different department of BIG, same question. Then I called the mayor back in. No, I called the new mayor now, because they had to change the mayors. I said, well, the house is for sale, but no, we don't have anything to do with it, you have to write BIG. So now I CC'd everybody on the same email, so listen, I know I'm just from American Network, I would just like to see the house. Maybe I would even want to buy the house. It's for sale. Who has the key? This is not hard. There must be a real estate broker then. Nobody. And I'm like, what are you? It's like, it's just, I know. The German efficiency is all gone. Yeah.
Things like these, yes.
Ooh. Yeah, they really are. The efficiency sort of, no, we don't know anything about it. We weren't there. This is a collapse. This thing came down. So when you tell me to wear helmets, seriously? This is like, I would rather just go in once. Well, I would regardless. And that's where the shooting range is in there. And since all this stuff seems to be moving, I don't want to go in there because I really like the schnitzel here and I don't want to die before dinner. I mean, yeah, lots of drills in the walls here. It almost does seem like they just abandoned it that.
Yeah.
But how was it that morning for the prisoners? They weren't working at night, were they?
Yes, they did.
They did work at night.
Yes, normally they had 8-hour shifts and they switched it around.
So when
In the end it was all a bit chaotic, and then the last day they weren't working here.
that's what I seem to remember.
Yeah, because they Gans wanted to put all the prisoners into the tunnels and then blow it all up.
Oh, they talked about that here too?
Yeah.
But
And they were actually, you really wanted to do it, but some of the prisoners had some insights from the outside. And so they knew that they didn't want to go into the tunnels. And everybody resisted. That's everybody safe.
that's what the same thing about Bergkristall.
Yeah.
Although I will say, I don't think they were going to do it at Bergkristall. Because, and my theory on that, there's a lot of them sitting up here. It's like, you just left. Did you even try to get them out? At least here they put the whole floor in. See, my theory on this is, Kammler went to Pajor Middelbau, and he told his second in command to hand everything intact over to the Americans. He evacuated everybody from Peenemünde, got all the rocket scientists up here, so they could be handed over to the Americans. He rescued Dornberger, so he could be handed over to the Americans along with everybody else. Then he went to Bergkristall. He was in Bergkristall on May 4th. And I think that he gave the same order. I mean, it doesn't sound so good for history, but in reality, I think he gave the order, handed over to the Americans. And then he went either to Prague or wherever else he went. Or he went to the Americans. But I think he had a very specific plan, because if he wanted to destroy everything, he would have. Because he destroyed Peenemünde, he blew half of it up, so the Russians couldn't get anything. If he wanted to blow up Dor Middelbau, there was plenty of time. Same thing here. I think that was his choice, his bargaining chip, to specifically not do that. Which is what makes it so interesting, is what did he bargain with? And even if he was killed on the way, he still did what he did before that. Which means there's some information that has been transferred. And of course, Alan Dulles' papers, I can't see them either. And there were no Schellenberg and Dulles they were talking. So the SS already had contact to the American intelligence. So it's something was going on to get stuff away from the Russians. But then you had the complete mess up in Pilsen, where he went to gather all that in the Kammlers papers and hand them over to the Americans, and the American lieutenant wasn't informed, and he didn't take them, and he gave it all to the Russians. All the secret research papers. I'm like, what a moron. I always make fun of officers, but there was a book written about that too. Blunder. That was what it was called. About how they handed over all the German secret technology research to the Russians. It pretty well really was a stupid thing. It really shows how big it is. And it's funny how these places have their own atmosphere. Of this is not even moist. This is just dust. See, camera's not out of focus. It's just dusty. Well, that reminds me, I have to get a can of air. Do you know where Himmler's house is here? Well, it'd be kind of fun to just go by and see it. But I think it was in his wife's name. That's why she got to keep it, because his wife had sold her doctor's half of her practice. So she had money, and she bought it with her money, so it wasn't Himmler. So that's why the Americans didn't confiscate it. I mean, interesting stories, you can get plenty of that, but the special research you really want, I don't know, those you can't get. It's interesting how they built this in these sections, and then there's a naked wall section and nothing, and then there's a completed and...
Yeah.
What kind of rock is this? This is not clay, is it?
No, it's limestone.
Limestone. Oh, that's why it gets so damn sticky and messy. How fast did they build this much?
Pretty fast, because at the start of the war, they did, of course they had the site itself, but not the tunnels. And afterwards they had over 8 kilometers of tunnels in here, so in a couple, what was this?
It was about a year, wasn't it?
It was about a year, yeah. A bit more maybe.
No dresses, no shoes, no dead bodies.
No.
Damn. You're failing us here, hello. And then there's a little slab of cement, and then... Anything else you would like to see now that you actually have the chance? Somebody piled all this rubble up. There was a red brick building in here. Yeah, this is from one of the buildings that must have been here.
Yeah.
Some of the red brick.
It has to be, yeah.
There's a lot of crap here. There must have been a structure here.
Yeah.
Some
Because
this.
in the walls you can also...
See, there's part of the red. Yeah. So they'll build the red brick all the way up to the wall and have a little. Was this tunnel in use?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because this must have been the building. This was what's left of the tunnel. And there's a pillar or a foundation, floor or a wall. I'm curious. I feel curious. It was very interesting when we were in Quartz. We're wandering around, and then we find something that looks like these rocks. And I kicked one by accident, and it was just like cardboard. I picked it up. It was like compressed particle wood. There was a top floor, and then the wall dividers was made of this thin particle board. Just like we have office dividers today. I'm like, wow. It is really interesting when you see the layout of these places. I wonder if this collapsed naturally or the Americans destroyed it. I wonder why I'm walking up here where there's clearly a pathway down there. But anyway, I have so many questions to myself. It's not as cold as it was last time. Do you think this is all the this would look the same as your tunnel? Just do you think, is there enough rubble to have been a whole built-up tunnel? It almost looks like there is, doesn't it? There's a lot of stuff.
Probably, yeah. We don't know how deep it goes.
I mean, if we look at where we've gone, it's at least a meter, if not more. So you need to look underneath all of this to find stuff. This is the wall to the memorial, isn't it?
Yes.
Probably. Huh. Interesting. Hey, remember the particle board I told you about, the room dividers?
Right here.
This is one of them. Because this is too light to be a floor.
Yeah.
This is what they would divide the offices with. That you don't see anywhere.
No.
And also, it could also, of course, be an insulation wall for the. But we have. There's a cable. This is no. That's It's it is very rusty and very pointy. That's what I'm trying to say. Huh. This is interesting. Wow. I mean, this doesn't look like natural decay. Well, if this was attached to something and that fell down, that could have pulled it apart, I guess. The Americans didn't blow these up, did they?
No.
I mean, if there was a heavy crossbeam that fell down, it would have pulled cement with it, so this makes sense. You can let it run. There's like 5 hours of footage on that thing. You don't have to use it as a still camera. This is interesting. So in all the cross tunnels was where the generators were. And that's the shooting range at the end. It looks like you'd have one big submarine type engine sitting on here.
Yeah.
Look like it's sort of got the length of one large. So this should then be the same as your entrance in some way. Yeah. Are there more than that one photo from these? There's one or two photos. Yeah. Yeah, there's really not a lot from these tunnels with the machines and everything. Really. So this was collapsed from the outside. And this is an entrance that looks sort of like yours. Sort of? It looks a little smaller. Yeah, it is. There's no... Well, I'm glad I could get an excuse for you to grab the key and show you something you haven't seen. It's actually funny, I hear that quite a lot from people who have these big tunnel museums. I always go into places that they haven't seen. Like, I want to see everything. I think the least thing we can do is try to go through what is, to try to figure out what was, and from there trying to figure out what could have been. An artifact. The thin rebar. It's interesting, if you see the rebar in the bunkers they built in the beginning of the war, it was finger thick. Before the war. They found 33, 34. Enormous bands of rebar. And then as the war progressed, the rebar got thinner and thinner. Although this is a pretty significant size of a chunk. Is it weatherproofing tar? Or is that just interesting? Some of this could have been staircases too. Maybe. Oh, this almost has to be our Fraulein. I need a date, make, and manufacture on this shoe sole, please. Now we have somebody who is actually a specialist in uniform parts from the Third Reich. I would like to make, number, size.
No, this is not.
Really? Oh, you break my heart. Construction wood noster thin.
It's wooden forks?
If it's wooden, then if it was a leather on wood, then it would have been a prisoner's shoe.
Yeah. I mean, even leather, like these nails were used in military boots, because when the leather get wet, the sole get like plumpy,
Yeah.
and the wood will get also plumpy, so it will not get deconstructed. But these are normal nails.
Okay.
I'm not really sure this is trench material. It doesn't feel natural. And it was somewhere here in like 50s, 60s. And probably things there too.
When did the museum officially make the tunnel? Do you know?
When they really went in 2000,
Yeah,
late 80s.
late 80s. Okay, so there were quite a few years of people playing around in here.
Actually, lots of people come around and say they played in here as children, so.
I grew up on the Atlantic Wall. I can only second that. But even back then, I never took anything with me. Well, it was nice that somebody made a little walkway, but also gives you an idea how much rubble there's here. I would average, if we average it out, what do you think, a meter throughout, at least? So now we can divide the square footage of the tunnel by a meter's worth of material. Then we can extrapolate if that material is enough to build a tunnel like that. And when you're done doing that math, give me a call. Let me know what you come up with. We'll put it all back together and we'll see what it was. Yeah, because stone doesn't compress. So if we take the square footage by in size, by a meter, and then we'll sort of have an idea how much material that would be, given how much material a full build-up tunnel would be. I hope some of you people out there who's watching this are listening, because I'm not doing this. You are. This looks like, again, it looks like it could be stairs, but they're too big for stairs. Okay. This is a very generous staircase, so no. Are these original markings, or
No.
somebody came up with these later to? Well, that's wood.
This is an extremely important part of history, and it's important the museum is here for many reasons. And if you'd like to watch more and learn more about the happenings here and the camp and the prisoners, watch my first episode from Ebensee, where Wolfgang, the curator who started the museum and take care of this, will tell you a lot more in an interview I did with him.
And there was a dividing wall between the A and B section. This looks like what remains of that wall. Right opposite the old original gate, which is the only thing that's left. It does look like there's a little bridge here. This could be where it looks like the rail could have run over here, honestly.
In 1943, a contract was made between the SS Führungsstab Kammler and Hans Hatschek for the use of the quarry area for an unknown program for the duration of the war. Under that, Solvay and many other companies were hired and began to bring specialist machinery here. And there's more than these two large sites. Since for the specialist projects Solvay was operating, they needed specialist storage, which was also safe, which led us to this very little known tunnel system with something very special inside.
It was a beautiful day, and it's just exactly that right temperature. This is the first time I've ever seen the drains exposed. And these were in all the tunnel systems. They had drainage from all the way from within. In at least one of the technical tunnels, there would be these.
Are you sure there will be no water? I can already hear some water.
No, we're not. Let me just.
So these are valves?
These are water valves.
Yeah.
This looks like it's new. That looks almost like it's new, doesn't it?
This site was also used until 70s, 80s.
Really?
Yeah.
So did the Americans work this as well?
I don't know.
What were they doing here?
It was the company Solvay.
Oh. This is a whole different story that does not involve uranium, but thorium.
Yeah.
This is the thorium story.
Yeah.
So was this a mine or was this storage?
It was
Or
for-
production? Or
for the old saline.
And that's an interesting conversation. So these are all drainage pipes. This is about one of the secret projects that we really are thinking they were working on. And there's a whole lot more to this than you think.
All the tunnels were built in World War II and then after used.
But the research began in the 20s. Well, I guess we may as well just go around. Yes, we may as well go around here. And at some point, when we're not here in mortal danger of being gang raped by bats, Tom and I can sit in front of the camera. And we're going to try to break down exactly what this whole thorium thing was all about. Because it's all very much about energy. And this was more than drainage tunnel pipes, wasn't it?
No, it was production.
This was production.
Yeah.
Production? Oh, I am titillated in many ways. By the way, Munchkin, don't kick the wooden poles.
It was also part of ammonia production.
Ammonia?
Ammoniac.
Oh. How many times? Alright, you've been here before, you tell me where we are.
I wasn't here before.
You weren't here before?
No.
Oh, great. So, don't we always go left or right first?
Let's go there.
Alright, fine. We're just starting by breaking the rules. We follow the pipes. Wow. So, ammonia and thorium.
You see where the concrete wall is? There is one of the big vessels.
The big tanks?
Yeah.
That, oh, this is...
When we're going up, you can see from above.
Holy son of a goat. Jesus. Somebody's earning his schnitzel tonight. Wow.
So we go up first, yes.
Sure. What could possibly go wrong?
The steps are slippery a little bit.
This is not something you usually see every day. This is definitely not something you see every day. Alright, while I'm climbing the staircase here, thorium. It's all about energy. You know, all about energy that the Reich was needing. Germany was pretty much out, well, they were on a deficit of natural resources such as oil from the very beginning, even before the beginning of the war. And once they would attack the Soviet Union, there would be no more oil coming from there. And Himmler knew, like everybody who really were thinking giant thoughts, son of a motherless goat. Speaking of giant thoughts, thank you. Holy crap. That Germany needed to find alternative source of energy. And I think one of the last Nazi secret, real secrets, is that they were working on a special source of energy other than uranium for energy. And this is where we get to thorium. Research that began in the late 20s or late teens in Austria?
Teens to 20s, yes.
Teens to 20s. People working on thorium research here already then. And now we fast forward to World War II. And here we are in the tunnel system. Of course, Kammler would have been part of this, right?
It was part of the completing project of Ebensee, the Zement project.
Oh yes, Ebensee and Zement. So you had synthetic fuel plant that was set up, and you had these tunnels set up for thorium. I'm imagining we're coming back this way, but I'm just curious what, I mean, Jesus, this is real. Oh, this is where the staircase is. Look at this stuff. And it's not raining, although the wood floors are rotted, as I can clearly feel that this is wood structure. So, and these are they weights? Is that weights? No, it's not, is it?
It's from wood.
To hold wood in place, or just? I don't like this. Yeah, I don't like this floor because it's giving and it's wet and it's rotten. And that is the way down. Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, as we now navigate down to the next tunnel of what is this? Tom, why don't you talk our loving audience through what is actually going on here?
That's a big mystery. This is the only part that was announced in the project but never been really researched. The next big thing.
This is a significant resource to put in underground in a cave. This is not a small endeavor, this was serious stuff. And to fill these tanks you would need a lot of stuff, which makes this really interesting. But, like you were saying, why don't you start from the beginning of the whole thorium endeavor here, and who and what and why, because we need to catch people up to something they haven't heard about.
It all begins with the research of radium. And Sir Welsbach and Mr. Solvay.
Mr. Solvay's name you will to remember. And here's the third one. I mean, imagine how much material you need to process to fill this up. This is, how big are these things? Is there any?
Don't know, there's a measurement.
1,050,
I think liters.
I mean, they would probably, isn't that a meter stick? No. There's more than 1,050 liters.
Yeah.
So we could look at it with 1,050,000 liters? Or we could look at, just put the rudimentary measure of meters. I don't know.
No, it's liters, I think.
Well, 1,050 liters is nothing. So that's 1,000 bottles of milk. That would fit a tiny corner of this, so the measurement must be indicative of something bigger.
Then maybe 10,500 is.
Even 10,000 liters. I mean, this is a gigantic thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Solvay, thorium, radium. What's your theory?
That they build another way to make atomic energy out of thorium, and they don't need the process of uranium enrichment or something from real reactor.
And Solvay, 20 years later, in World War II,
Yeah.
he had 2 or 3 tunnels here
Yes.
in the Kammlers, Zement and Ebensee projects.
Yes, there's also the name Solvay written on the maps, like the one I sent you before from Zement Anlage A. They also have Solvay the name on it. And also I think in the Mauthausen camp, on the map there's also Solvay written, that it was a place for prisoners where they have to work.
And there was quite a significant number of French nuclear scientists in Mauthausen.
Yes.
Wait, that's just a coincidence. Oh, wait a minute, I don't think it is a coincidence, honestly. Now, what would make this even more interesting is, I want you to remember, this is at a time of a war where resources were scarce and everything needed to move underground to not get blown up. So, premium real estate was in Kammlers tunnels, and all underground tunnels, of course. So in this premium resource, premium estates, they moved in how many tunnels? 2, 3, 4, 5 total? Plus research for thorium next to a synthetic fuel plant as well. In fact, they moved, the rockets were supposed to be built here, and they moved them out down to Mittelbau. They deemed this not, I think they didn't say this was not big enough for the rocket production, I think, right?
Yeah.
But it was still important. They have all this space and they dedicated it to something that will produce nuclear energy.
There was also the big research center in Dreibach-Althofen.
Okay.
That was here from our Elsbach.
Here in Austria as well.
Here also, yes.
Any universities involved?
No, it was private research from his.
So, is Solvay mentioned in any contemporary SS literature, anything? Because it seems to me he just has forgotten. Just nobody mentioned him.
Yeah, I don't know why. Because Solvay was the guy that brings all the engineers and scientists from the chemical to the physics together. They have conventions and all that stuff.
So here's a real person doing real research into something Himmler said was incredibly important. From even the outset of the war, they were looking for energy. Because you can build the greatest, biggest bombs in the world, you can have the best planes in the world, you can have the best of anything in the world, but if you don't have energy for the factories or fuel left over to fly the bombers, it doesn't matter what you have if you can't deliver it. So, of course they were looking for alternative energy. And thorium was it. Oh, look at this, I love this. And I remember a very few documents that has been mentioned from the time of the war of what the Americans found. They mentioned finding an awful lot of thorium. And no one really ever talked about it, because the problem with thorium is you can't turn it into a bomb that'll explode like uranium. Even today, it would make an exceptional amount of sense to make nuclear reactors out of thorium. Because thorium is cheap. It's easy to find. It's not volatile. It won't kill you or the city if it actually malfunctions. Thorium is a great idea. Schauberger also worked at Mauthausen, where Himmler set him up in the lab. That's right. If you have to walk backwards sometimes, if it's like a ship, it might not be a bad idea.
Are you okay? I think that was the same spot.
That's the sound of our Austrian billy goat. He was a Gebirgsjäger, by the way. He can navigate slippery. All right, it's fine. You okay?
Yeah, I didn't fall. Just was sliding.
Yes, it sounded very much like an attempt at skiing. I know you must have withdrawals.
It's good that I put my mobile phone away.
So I'm guessing we're coming to 3 other bottoms of tanks here. Where my next question is, all the stuff that went into the tanks, where was that produced?
Come from the other side of the mountain.
These pipes run all the way through the mountain?
Yeah.
To Ebensee or
No, to the other side.
to the other side? What's there?
I don't know.
Is there a factory? Is there another tunnel? Is there what's on the other
There
side?
should be a factory.
Above ground factory?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's probably destroyed or gone or missing or turned into another factory.
Yeah, like the big Solvay factory that was in Ebensee. It's also a bit gone.
Well, the Americans ran the fuel plant in the tunnels down here for a long time,
Yeah.
and then they sold that fuel plant back, synthetic fuel plant back to the French, right? I believe. So it makes sense, but it's funny. None of this have been mentioned in contemporary literature. I don't remember seeing this anywhere.
No, it's just the name Solvay written, and that's the also prisoners worked on this place.
Of course. But even no one talks about this.
Oh.
So this was for the judging from the tanks. This was for the ammonia.
Yeah.
And the thorium tunnels were in Zement, where I was. Or
What do you say? Maybe they used it here also?
well, let's see where the yellow brick road takes us. Oh, two-way door. So there are at least 2 tunnel entrances here.
There are there 5 or 4.
Well, that's full of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's full of a thing. This is a pump with valve. This was a valve. Pumps with valves here, right? Of course, they would be able to shut this stuff off or on. Well, shall we have a little look-see now that we're here? And to all of you who can't see me, and I know you worry so much about my giant manly brain, obviously I'm wearing a helmet. You're sitting out in your living room and you're not believing me, as indeed you shouldn't. If you find any bones in this one, I'll You've been drinking, what's wrong with you? Oh, you got... This is probably still being worked on,
Yeah.
or expanded.
Some tunnels are not fully finished.
You know,
I wonder why.
this thing looks like the rod, the screw for a munition lift for a machine line fort. I know it's not, but just saying that's what it looks like.
We also have the wet bricks that show that there was already production and they divided from the unfinished tunnels.
You see red bricks?
Yeah, on the right side.
Oh, there, yeah.
When you look on the right side, see the bricks. You can see it from the other side.
And red bricks signify that that was the last finishing touches when you built everything from the little bathrooms to everything else inside these tunnel systems. That was part of the very finishing installations. Oh yeah, there's piles of red bricks. There'll probably be a little office or other in here like we saw at Ebensee. Same way back again. I take it the white door's closed.
The door is closed.
Of course. All right. Who needs a door?
This is not the biggest tower system, but maybe one very important. Yeah, bones. She really found bones.
Of course you found bones. That's why we bring a nurse to these places. What is it? What is this? Rib cage? These are newer. These are not from the time of the war, but don't worry. These are the little grooves I couldn't remember. These little holes, air pockets, that I couldn't remember what was called.
It's the skeleton of the bones.
Yeah, but these little air pockets in the hole, they have a name. I could remember when we were under Vienna. And by the time I mentioned this, there's somebody in the chat that will have figured this out and written it. And thank you, whoever you are. Because I am not a pathologist, and she's not a forensic scientist. I'm certainly not going to say just a nurse, because nurses are some of the most important people in the world.
Someone that looks like a tooth.
Tooth?
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit, that's a canine. Isn't that a canine, isn't it?
No, it's a broken bone.
A broken bone. Oh, too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was a canine, I'm like, we're leaving. That's a very large tooth. It's time to go home. Bye. Wow.
Then we have real dragons here. Best thing is you have not one graffiti.
I know. I'm not going to tell people where this is. But I mean, the amount of material they had to pull out of this to build these 3 tanks. And the amount of material they had to bring in to put these 3 tanks together. That's the tank. What? What? Yeah, that's where we came from. The tanks are down there, yeah.
I guess.
Oh, actually, I'm gonna get it. Right. Outstanding.
Beams.
Yeah, they run cables, beams. There's a lot of these that are,
But here's metal also.
yeah, the cables hanging from. Fairly good shape, the wood. Actually, this is fairly good shape, the wood, considering for the condition of what we're looking at, which is a bit amazing, honestly. What did it? Oh, these are the earth layers.
Yeah.
I was thinking about looking at tool marks. I'm like, no. This was exploding hammers, drills. Oh, there's a bat. Good. Well,
Yes.
remember to name it. Hansi? Hansi's the bat. I like it. She had a little foreman hut. Interesting that you have to build a hut in here with its own ceiling. This is a hell of a thing, isn't it? This really is a thing. And again, like I was saying, there's so much documentation that the Americans found a lot of thorium. And I've been talking about thorium with you for a few years. This is a far more important thing. Just because it doesn't explode, this could be the energy source that would make it possible to produce the things that would explode. Now we all know from Kruitibner's reactor in Stadilm, what Heisenberg was putting together, that there were not enormous power plants nearby to fuel it. They ran them on a submarine engine, on the diesel motor from a submarine. That's what fueled the experimental reactors. And thorium being less volatile, imagine what you could do with that. Once that was running, and since we know they were researching this, why has there been no discovery or conversation about that after the war, where everybody went straight to uranium, making tons of nuclear bombs? Nobody, also by that time gasoline was cheap, and nobody went off halfway and said, hell, let's just make cheap energy. Even if it doesn't explode, we can make cheap energy. And yes, I've seen the hole in the wall too. I'm kind of building up to it. Wanted to make it a surprise, you know. But okay, here's a hole in the wall. And there's air coming from in there. All right, I shall go first. Yeah, what do you, I don't know, what do you, this is all red brick on this side. Oh! No, I want the rock out of my ass. I want the bat to come help me. Alright, see how you do it, Gracious. Just because you're like 4 feet tall. How easy is that? I'm not going to build Tom because that's not fair. But we were talking about the red brick. Here is the red brick. So now we're on to what's here.
Here, I think they still working on the tunnels. Enlarge it.
Yeah. Just amazing to think how much they would have to take out and bring in to build these huge tanks. These are not small tanks.
No, that was a lot of work.
There was a lot of work, a lot of resources. This was not fun and games. And just the fact that the validity of this was how long after the war they were able to operate it. All right, I'm sensing a trend here. So they could be enlarging this for the same setup as next door. So we might see the beginning of some big tanks here. If I go down. Munchkin, do you want a proper flashlight? Grab a, sorry.
No.
It's like
That's my
I charged everything for quartz, so I'm all power, I'm all fueled up.
Yeah, for also 4 or 5 flashlights and
Yeah. It's like there was actually people that died in east wall tunnels, which they went in with one flashlight and wanted to have a candlelight and have drinks or something, and then they,
good idea.
yep, light burned up. They couldn't find their way out.
I wonder why.
You haven't seen the east wall, which is 27 kilometers of tunnels with cemented walls and railroads and trains, and so if it gets dark.
You have no chance to find out there.
When I was there with Kaviak and Gosia,
Yeah.
those two brainiacs decided, hey, let's just see how far we can walk in the dark. Oh my God.
Okay, how far you can go?
Well, we made it down one tunnel without running into anything. It's just like the games you play. Don't play these games when you go into dark tunnels. In fact, don't go into dark tunnels at all. That's what you have me for.
But I did the same with my girlfriend in Graz.
Oh God, help me.
We just wanted to prove how dark it is, and it's completely dark.
Please join me on Patreon because I'm going to need medical assistance and flights one of these days. Going again.
Yes.
Why is it that every time we bring a nurse and we find bones everywhere? This has been sawed.
Yeah,
Why is there a cut bone in here?
that doesn't seem like.
Why is there a cut bone in here?
Maybe it's from the previous.
But I mean, even if you have a barbecue in here, which seems really stupid, but it's not. I'm not putting it past anybody. Does this look like a hip bone? Look at this. The hip of what's it called? The femur coming down here.
Could be possible, yes.
But this is new though. This is not. This can't be that old. How do bone? I mean, this is. Well, it's actually pretty dry here.
I mean, the bones kind of are sustainable. And this is big piece, like
Would they have used this as a field hospital, or? I mean,
everything is possible.
the only reason why you would have a sawed-off bone from the war is if he was in the hospital and his leg was shattered.
My friend, and she may
Yes, please.
know. But once we get to the same room,
Don't worry. It'll be.
that's another room.
We'll start finding ribs and skulls, and well, it wouldn't. Well, is this the remnants of the barbecue here?
Oh, there is another bone and another bone and another bone.
Why must these things always end up with me explaining myself to the police and a forensic pathologist? Oh well, story of my life.
Here it goes further. You see that?
You think this goes further?
Oh,
You don't think this is outside?
it could lead to the outside.
Well, we'll find out in a minute.
Yeah.
Does this go up?
This goes up, yes. I think it goes to an end.
Very, very interesting. But I felt air coming through the hole when we went in, didn't I?
Okay.
Or is that just something I?
I'm sure they have a barbecue here. Here's ketchup.
Has anybody gone missing lately, huh? What did you find? I see you. Bones.
And they are the same.
Here's also a bone.
Oh.
And here's ketchup for eating.
I'm sorry, but that. I thought. God, I thought they were connected because that was like shin bone was my first thought on that.
No.
Well, I mean, if that goes, there's a hole in there. I mean, oh, here's an out. So we're going back in. We're going the other way, but here's an out, and here's a collapse. Yeah. Oh, thank God. You found a collar? Right.
It's funny why you bricked up this wall there.
I know. And this, by the way, is what a collapse looks like.
Oh.
If you look at the stone above us. Well, because we're clearly not very intelligent, but we do want to know some things about history.
Next time drinking wine.
Back in again. Let's follow the yellow brick road. Look at that. Look at this stone right here. That's why smart people wear helmets. Because that thing is just one step away from falling down. It's just being held up by another. So we just move quietly out of here. Exactly where we're standing here, right above us. This metal. No, this way, Malkin. Huh?
Skull.
The skull?
Yeah.
That's comforting.
Okay, that's from a bird.
Yeah.
Okay, that big bone over there is not from that little rodent.
No.
Yeah, definitely not.
It's not, what is that? That's not a bird, is it?
No.
That's
It's
a mouse. That could be a fox
teeth.
dog something.
Yeah.
But still, that little.
Reflex, yeah.
Yeah.
But these are big.
Oh, this is the end.
Yeah.
Oh, so we go this way. Oh, there, yeah, we are. Okay. You're very quiet. I'm very worried. Here's a parallel tunnel to where we came from. We came from down there.
No, take the down.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is where I found another bone.
Oh, so we are going this way. See how easy it is to get turned around in the tunnel system?
There's a lot of bones.
There's a lot of
yeah.
bones.
It's
Holy crap.
amazing.
Maybe there's a bee inside.
Yeah, there could be bears here.
What?
Bears.
Yeah, I heard you.
Oh, good, good. Just,
There's another job. Okay,
I mean-
read it.
I mean, if a bear does show up, we stand next to each other and we yell. And then hopefully he runs the other way, and if he runs this way, we're fucked. So, then we all yell Odin and we charge.
What we wouldn't do for a review. I hope you would have kept it.
This is why tunnels sometimes collapse. Because the water erodes the stone.
In the winter they freeze.
And in the spring, that's what happens.
Feel like sitting down.
Well, it's nice we know we have sleeping reinforcements outside. Oh shit. Let's just keep going, jeez.
There's another tank maybe?
I see cement.
Something concrete.
Is it moving?
If the cement starts moving, we'll have bigger problems. Like, a lot bigger. I mean, the bears would be out by now. They're no longer hibernating. It's May. Well, it certainly is concrete. So,
I need to go further.
good, because I would be very annoyed if there was just a piece of cement wall and then everything ends. Yeah, people have been trying to dig through it here. People know that something's going on here. And I'll break down the whole thorium thing when we get out of here. Show you some maps, drawings, some things, because and there's dowels and metals and things everywhere in the ground above us.
Yeah.
This is metal.
It's an old oil or fuel tank for something.
I'm not saying it's not the period. Could be.
Could be, of course.
They even have a little.
Even have a little color here. Is this a black or is that
Maybe it was
dirty?
green.
It looks a little green, doesn't it?
So there's that way.
Oh, we have all the
Oh, wow. An artifact. But I don't see any tracks for rail carts, for carts, for anything.
There's just
No, I
a
guess.
back from one, I guess.
Huh?
This one looks like from the...
It is green.
looks like from a box or something.
Yeah.
What's
There's a
inside?
little step.
It does.
And that will be the inside.
Inside, yes.
And this will be the outside. Let there be. Oh, wait a minute. This is a door. This is a
Cabinet door.
cabinet door, yeah.
Okay.
Which would then denote that something was cabineted. But they certainly had dowels for. Also, even if you're excavating, there'll still be pipes for the pressured air. Would have to be fed in here. Whereas they'll be hammering this out with drills, pickaxes, mnemonic drills, running on pressured air. Oh, here's another out. It's collapsed, but it's an out. Or it's been backfilled. It does one of the two.
Hey, these are the bones.
Tunnel of Death. I see the episode title as we speak.
Bicycle.
Yeah, well, it's a fat bicycle. Or an old. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, a lot of this.
No, these look fresher because there is still like meat on them. Though.
Oh, bones with meat on them. Good, good.
No, it just looks good.
I want this.
There's the concrete wall bolt. Makes no sense.
I mean, would they already do a divider? So this is almost too early a stage
Yeah.
for a concrete divider or security area or something. It's strange, unless they built it to
But you still have the blankets of wood. Yeah.
build it to hold it up. Oh shit! Yeah, there's construction wood still there.
Yeah.
Sorry, kind of hard to. Did you say rib cage?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I mean,
Canine type.
no,
I mean, don't you have a mobile DNA kit with you? Isn't that a thing? Like you can swipe and then.
Oh, and there is like, okay, there's like, it seems like bigger and there is more ribs.
Here coming the mosquitoes.
All right. They're big mosquitoes if they leave that kind of bones behind. Just saying. And you got some flesh-eating mosquitoes around here. Okay. So. Now we're here. See if there's anything in the trash. This just looked like somebody was camping. Haven't seen any rail, mini rail, cross beams or anything. It's kind of what I wanted to say. They must have done this by mini rail. Oh yeah. There's some metal poles in it. What was this? It's really embedded well.
You see these tunnels are absolutely not built for mining.
No. So where would they mine the thorium they were using around here, or were they enriching the thorium in these tunnels, and not the other ones?
That's a big question.
I mean, thorium needs to get processed as well. So here's the question: what does?
Just know that Treiber had moved and they were enriching production. So
They were actually producing. So this must be enriched thorium. It must be processed in a similar way as to uranium, right? In order for it to be used to fuel.
yeah, with gas centrifuges.
Yeah. Okay, we will discover. We will look into that. I don't want to guess anything about enriching anything. But with and the thorium, you can even get in the outer soil layers. You don't have to enrich it. Oh, you don't have to mine it, I believe. You can extract thorium from soil some places.
Yeah,
So thorium is so easy to get.
that's why you use it.
Yeah. So where did the thorium come from that they were using here?
Well, Canton?
From where?
Canton.
Canton?
Canton.
Canton. Nearby?
Not really.
Oh.
Some 100 kilometers apart.
That's close enough. And again, how much would you have that many tunnels? How much would you do? Oh, well, there's a tire. So we know this is World War II. We're lucky enough that there's anything we can see on this tire.
You have steel, high grip,
So it is. The
and
high grade, well, if it was made during the Second World War, it would not say high grade. Third Reich export. Fucking graveyard around here. Where did they go? So we have 4 entrances at least? Huh? So we have 4 entrances?
4 or 5.
4 or 5. So we have that one, the one down there, 2 that. Yeah, that splits up in 2. So 5. I think that goes around to where we were before, to the one entrance. That way.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, that's how they did it. At least these were held up with cement. Or, yeah. It's also interesting that the tunnels in there that were in use, they were raw. These weren't tunnels that were processed or cemented in or anything. They were raw tunnel wall. Which then brings me back to the...
Just build in the things that was necessary.
Yeah. Which then brings me back to the tunnel walls and that so-called air raid shelter with the damn polished walls. Polished cement, like, that makes no sense. Some of the French forts had imported Italian workers for World War I to build the forts, and they polished the walls that way. That was an Italian thing. There were Italian laborers working in Austria towards the end of the war. So, but again,
There was a lot of them.
there was no-
1000 or 1000 everywhere.
yeah, the Italians were not, they weren't treated particularly well. They were seen as allied that betrayed them. And it's interesting when you then see the report of after Germany had taken over Italy, disarmed the Italians, and started looking at what the Italians had been hoarding. Thousands of liters of cement, of oil and gas and munitions and planes that the Germans had kept giving to the Italians, that they just stored hiding in mountains and stuff. And Goering was furious because here through all the flak guns, all this material that the Germans gave the Italians, didn't use it. They just hid it away. So I guess I understand they were a little annoyed, because these were all valuable resources for the Reich at the time. So theoretically, they were planning on 3 more tanks in here, which really would show a rather tremendous output. Well, this was bloody interesting.
I volunteer to go first.
Extreme athleticism that I can do this. See, sideways and everything. Yeah, athletics. God, I'm stuck. Shit, ow. No. Don't hold the beams. Don't grab the wooden beams. Thank you. You need light? Were we in here?
No.
I don't think so. Pretty much the same setup. Yeah, it's amazing with all the stuff they have inside. And this tunnel looks like nothing. Looks like it's not even begun or finished. It's amazing what you can hide inside mountains. But every time there's a little road on the side of a mountain, it could be because you needed to run mini rails here to excavate all the material you needed to get out in order to build your factory production inside, in order for you to win the war by creating something that no one ever thought you would.
Of course, I have contacted Solvay with requests for their wartime work and research, and also asking more about the specific lineage of their thorium research. So far, they have not responded, but I'm sure they will any day now. Any day now. Now, none of these tunnels, or even their power plants, were ever bombed. And at the end of the war, the guards of the camp left before the Americans arrived, and everything was handed over intact, just like all the others of Kammlers factories. Also, one more interesting note about Ebensee. One of the German officers associated with Eichmann was arrested and interned here, and with him he had a briefcase with documents related to the Red House meeting in Strasbourg. The meeting between Himmler and Bormann's representatives and all the members of leading German industry, intended for them to expatriate all their assets outside the country until after the war had ended, and once peace again restored, to bring these assets back to rebuild the country, explaining why Germany recovered so fast from total destruction within just 10 years, and why all the German key industries are still in business today. But I'm sure it's just a coincidence.
My name is Tino Struckmann. I run Lost Battlefields. Every year, I travel around the world to try to bring you to all the most interesting historical military locations from modern wars and the World War II special projects, battlefields, forts, fortresses, and tunnels, everything else. Things you may not be able to see or go to yourselves. Please join me on Patreon or join Lost Battlefields through the website so you get access to all my files and my notes. It really does help, and like, follow, share here on the channel if you can. That helps too.